Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. It is actually Thursday again. It is unbelievable. I was just here a few days ago and I am back with you again. It is Thursday. Welcome, welcome wherever you're coming from in the world, whether it is in Europe, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Oceanic. Did I miss any? Asia, all seven continents, wherever you're coming from. Welcome to another episode of HP Chatting with People. And of course, I'm your girl HP. And tonight we're going to be having a very interesting discussion. We're going to be talking about um, life after the finish line, life after sport. What are some of the things that athletes need to take into consideration, while they're actively competing. And of course, I have two very knowledgeable gentlemen who will be joining me tonight. So, guys, don't go anywhere. I hope you've been having a great week so far, wherever in the world you are. I hope you've been having a great week. So, stay with us. And of course, we're going to be talking about that and more. So don't go anywhere. Stay where you are. I'll be right back.
Jamaica's track and field legacy is unmatched. It is a story of triumph, resilience, and extraordinary talent. But do you know the stories behind the athletes who brought us glory? Hi, I'm HP, founder of HP Chat Track. My mission is simple: to celebrate the rich legacy of Jamaica track and field and shine a light on the incredible people who make it happen. Winning that race was a dream come true, but the journey wasn't easy. It's not just about medals, it's about inspiring the next generation. Jamaica track and field isn't just a sport, it's our pride, our culture, our heart. Every week I sit down with athletes, coaches and fans to bring you stories of dedication, passion and legacy. Plus, we've got exciting news and exclusive insights into the world of track and field. Make your Thursday night be at HP's place. Come hang out with us at HP Chat Track Studio, where track and field is our business. Jamaica. One people, one legacy.
Get up on, no, don't stop. Future bright, the vibes nice.
All right, all right, all right. We are back, and of course, it is. I did say it is three of us, and here we are, guys. We are back. I am back with my knowledgeable guest about this topic that we're going to talk about. Of course, as I was saying, it is all about track and field, life after track and field, life after finish line. And with me, I have it's to my this is my right, my left. Anyway, to my left is I have Kemal Ford, a good friend of mine, a track and field buddy and all. He's here. He is a student at the University of the West Indies and he's majoring in integrated marketing communications. My good friend Rainford said that sounds very technical. He is a UE man, and of course, a UTech we say still, but we love UE just the same. And of course, I have to my right or to your right, Rainford Hunter. Many Jamaicans know him as Scouty. Now, Scouty is a sport agent, of course. He is the founder and the CEO of WCAMPG Sports Agency. And we are going to be talking about stuff tonight. And guess what, guys? I did not plan this, but these two gentlemen went to the same high school. I mean, in a different time, but they went to St. Andrew Technical High School. So let us just say hi to St. Andrew Technical High School, a school of many Olympians. And of course, these two men who were educated there, their secondary education, they are here tonight for us to shed some light on track and field business. Gentlemen, welcome. Good night. Good morning.
Come on,
Good
good
night.
night. Good night, HP. Glad to be on. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you very much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here. Within this forum, talking about track and field from a different perspective. A lot of times discussions that these are not necessarily been having because sometimes people might many of us as fans do not want to talk about athletes potentially retiring. As much as we love them, they are doing well, running, jumping, throwing, etc. Like one day there will come a time that they will have to hang up their spikes or basically put away their equipment, for the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm. We're not hearing your HP.
You're not hearing me?
Better now.
We heard you now, but we didn't hear what you say. What you were
Oh,
saying.
you weren't hearing me before. Okay, as I was saying, Kemal has set the stage for us to do an opening remark. So it is now your time, Scouty, to do an opening remark.
Yeah, man. What I concur with what Kamal said. I don't know if we're gonna get into what I'm doing personally, but generally speaking, the point that he touched on with respect to after athletes retire, and even prior to that, leading up to their retirement, are we planning properly enough for retirement? Because we're going to get into this a little bit more, but one of the things that we have to keep in mind too is that sports, well, in particular track and field, being that it's more of an individual sport, more so than anything else, with the exception of those who are a part of a club. Once athletes walk away, they don't get pensions. They don't get retirement. They don't get pensions or anything like that. So it's once they stop competing and the income stops. If they didn't earn enough during their time of competing, it's gonna be a rough go. From that point on. So athletes have to plan carefully and be prepared. And I know there are financial companies out there that offers pension plans and retirement plans and things like that. But most young athletes are probably not even thinking about stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
you are totally
basically,
right.
that's my opening.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. When we're young, we tend not to think about when we're in our 20s and stuff. We tend not.
HB, we're not hearing you, or they
We're
kind
not
of
hearing it.
breaking.
My audio is breaking up.
Yeah,
Still the same.
yeah.
Same. I think when you were closer, a bit closer, we're hearing you. Like
All right, hold on. Let me see.
hearing you now.
You hearing me now?
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Let me bring my microphone a little bit closer. All right, how
Yes.
is that?
Yeah,
Great.
that's perfect. That's good.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. As I was saying, many times when we're in our 20s, we're not thinking about our 30s, our 40s, and even 50s until sometimes it's too late. So, this we we have to have. I think when we're young, we should have people around us to guide us because young people are not going to know. We're not thinking about these things. We're thinking about living. We're thinking about having a good time. So this is why athletes, professional athletes, need to have a team around them and people around them that can guide their career. So let us look at some stuff, gentlemen, to kick off the real conversation. Life after sport. Life after sport can be a challenging transition for athletes as they move from a structured competitive environment to one that requires them kind of no direction. There's basically no structure to where they're going to go after that. We're here tonight to talk about identity after visibility, gentlemen. How important is visibility for athletes? We have athletes who are shy. We have athletes who don't really want to talk to the media. How important is visibility in sports? You want to go first, Kemal?
All right. So I think as much as athletes are doing well in their life is set, laser focused on them performing well, having, winning a lot of medals and representing their country, going to these meets and, becoming more popular as an athlete, really. I think at times athletes tend to not want to do anything outside of sports. So, say for instance, a lot of athletes are consumed by their sport or by track and field to an extent where if they're not competing in the season, they might get up on an early morning on an early morning and be watching a meet in the sense that, hey, I'm just keeping up, even if they're probably not keeping tabs on their competitors. What I think athletes should do is that get be figure out an identity for yourself beyond just the sport. You understand? Find hobbies, whether it might be you probably cooking, you probably having a skill or something related to that, whether or not you have a degree and everything. If you're probably not taking it, using it practical and everything, think about what you're going to do and basically take small steps per se, not necessarily big leaps, because obviously you're an athlete, your time was consumed by your sport, but try to do something that is beyond the sport. Even if it isn't involved in the sport, just ensure that you love it. For example, being potentially a mentor, speaking to athletes, speaking to persons, being involved in even your brands and everything as a sponsor and do a lot of those things, because it helps in the long run. And I do believe that one of the things that athletes should do as in their career before they retire and everything is to have a good relationship with brands and good various entities and so forth, because even after they retire, these same entities will want to work with them.
And we're going to talk about that. Hold that thought. Scotty, you are an agent. You're a sport agent. You've been an agent for a while. You're in the business on and off. I was doing a research and I was reading up a little bit about the importance of visibility and maintaining a certain image. And I was in shock when I look at the amount of groups that watches an athlete's career. The first one is fans and supporters. Why are fans and supporters important to an athlete's image? They're not putting money in their pocket, but why are they important?
Well, as you said, let's just take a look at a couple of things that when I started my agency. Let me see if I can answer it like this.
Sure.
I was focusing on current athletes, and I still do to a certain extent. But what is important? I'm focusing a lot now on retired athletes, but um, the visibility is very important. It's very important because the more visible you are, let's just put it that way, is the more marketable, you are, obviously. But the visibility aspect of it is not the only, is not where it doesn't start and stop there. Athletes also need to brand themselves, as well.
Mhm.
Every athlete should develop a personal brand, for themselves, and we can get into why that is important. But personal branding, visibility enhancements, those are some of the two of the areas that I kind of focus on, right now. Whether the athletes are an active athlete, or whether the athletes have been retired, a long time ago. But it's important because visibility, like I said, can translate. The more visible you are,
Yeah.
it's the more revenue, it's the more income, you can earn, because you can market yourself a little bit better. So there are some ways to do that. Athletes can get into speaking engage, doing speaking engagements. Do like what you're doing. Start a podcast, channel, and get subscribers to subscribe to your channel. Um, you know, the traditional way, well, digital marketing is also an important, way of just making yourself, visible. And like I said, a lot of times, sometimes an athlete may go to an Olympic Games, and they may win a gold medal, and you know they're still not visible. And you may ask, how can you win a gold medal and and you're not visible? Nobody know who you are, right? Well,
And
if,
we've seen that. We've seen that many
Lots of
times.
times.
yeah, we see that's out there all over the place. Where we have athletes who win, gold medal because maybe they were a part of a relay team or they weren't in one of those glamour events, like the 100 or the 200 or the 400 or something like that. But if you're in one of those events that doesn't get as much, publicity, then you have to figure out ways, how you can become more visible, and because like I said, the more visible you are, it's the more you can charge, for your whatever, speak if you're going to do a speaking engagement, stuff like that. Obviously the message is important that that you're going to be delivering as well, but you need to be visible so people can know who you are and can invite you to come do that to do that speaking engagement and try not to hide yourself.
Another important group when I was doing my research that is normally watching athletes. These people are the business and corporate stakeholders. What this is saying, these are sponsors, companies who would invest in the athletes to promote their product. And we were talking about that behind the scenes. You have brand managers and PR teams, people who would want to help you to have that look that you need to have. Advertising agencies are also some of the people who are looking on merchandising and licensing companies, business that profits from using athletes' name, their likeness, and their brand. Now, Kemal, um, is athletes' work ethics, is it really important? Why is it important?
Yes, I think work ethic really sets the stage for what's to come where athletes are concerned because when you look at it, athletics or any sport at all to reach the highest level, it takes a lot of discipline in the sense that you have to get up the early mornings when you don't want to go to training. You have to put in the additional work just to reach the top, and basically, you're basically doing that for potentially a moment that sometimes lasts long, last less than probably like 9, 10 seconds. You understand? And when you look at that overall, that level of discipline that you build up as an athlete, oftentimes translate to your personal life, whatever you're doing next, in the sense that if you're going to potentially go in the life of working a regular 9 to 5, that same level of discipline to get up early, to push, to meet deadlines and so forth, it actually enables you to become a better person beyond just you being an athlete. And again, the thing about this as well, athletes themselves have to recognize that sometimes they need to, the talent is there and everything, but the work ethic really separates it from you,
True.
from others, because even we have seen athletes who are talented at champs, as champs here in Jamaica, and basically the person who was always looking at their backs are now the ones that are beating them, and it's like, oh, but this person was fast in high school, but they're no longer that person. Just overall work ethic on a whole, it is something that I don't believe that it's actually taught. It's something that is learned, in the sense that you become disciplined, you become focused, in the sense that you become more hungry for what's to come, and you become a lot more teachable as an athlete per se, in the sense that coaches basically would like to coach athletes or instruct athletes who are oftentimes teachable.
How do we get these young people? We're talking about 17, 18-year olds, 19, 20, 25. How do we get them to recognize that they are a brand that can potentially worth millions of dollars? How do we get them in that mindset, Scouty?
Well, it's difficult. At 17 and 18 years old, the athletes, being, especially when they're that young, they don't know, they're not thinking about things like that. You understand? So it's really important, for the athletes to have, uh, people around them, who understands the importance of all of these things, because the athletes really and truly needs to be focused on their performance. They're not marketing experts. They don't know, they don't understand, that branding themselves is important. And most professional athletes, to tell you the truth, are not branded.
Mm-mm.
As a matter of fact, I know very few athletes, who are branded. Branded is not just something you get. It's a formalized process that you have to go through, right? and most athletes are just not that, but not there. They don't have that
Break
that.
it down for us, this branding thing. What does it mean? What does it mean to athletes?
Well, as you probably are aware, branding. When you brand yourself, you're basically you're basically telling people, who you are, in a nutshell, right? There are certain things that goes with formalizing a brand. You have to come up with a mission statement, with a mission. Who are you? What are your what is your mission? In life. What are your visions? So you have to develop mission statements, or vision statement. You develop a tagline. This is who I am. Which athlete I heard said it? I probably shouldn't mention this on on your program, but I heard an athlete there that
That's fine.
recently came up with a beautiful, with a nice, tagline. She's a competitor, obviously, of us from Jamaica. But what did she say? And if I say it, you probably know who I'm talking about. She said, I'm not, what you say? I'm not back, I'm better. Or what's that saying?
Okay. No,
You know who I'm
she said I'm
talking
not
about?
done. No, she said what she said. She said I'm
I'm
not
not.
done.
I'm back. I'm not back. I'm better. Something
I'm
relating to that.
better.
No,
Yeah. I'm not.
I'm done. I'm not done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's an attempt.
2021. That was
Yeah.
Shakari's statement, and that's a
Yes.
bold statement she made because
Yes.
when she made that statement, she actually finished ninth out of nine athletes in a 100-meter. And when the
Right.
media came in front of her, she was still able to find a quote to kept her in the game.
You know,
You
yeah,
know,
you know who, before I forgot, since I mentioned an American athlete, I guess I should I should mention a Jamaican athlete who did something similar. And when people were concerned, another athlete who said something that kind of, but most people not hearing these things, but it's
yeah.
because of the kind of work that I'm in, and the things that I do. When I hear these kind of things, they stuck with me. I would call them tagline. And
Hmm.
I think it was Elaine Thompson Hera who said, um, something about people were wondering if she was okay or something like that. And she made she just said something to the effect that, um, as if she's trying to say, don't worry about me, because I, I am the problem. You remember that?
Yes, I remember something she
Yeah.
said.
That people are kind of saying, well, you know, she found a very neat way to say, don't
Hmm.
worry about me, because I am gonna be your problem. In other words, I'm gonna be your biggest nightmare.
I'll be back.
Yeah,
In other words,
but
I'll
things
be
like that
back.
kind of stuck with me. When I hear stuff like that, it kind of shows a little bit of confidence, and show that they're doing some things behind the scenes that that gonna they're gonna make people's life miserable. They're
But you
comparing.
know what? You know what I'm wondering, and I'm going to throw it out there. Not that we can really change it, but we can put something out there. I'm wondering if we should be teaching sport management in high school. Is it on the high school curriculum?
No, no. However, I do believe that as relates to branding as an athlete, it should be taught from the high school level, especially when
I
you see
think so
these
too.
teenagers doing well at champs, doing well in football, etc.
Mm-hmm,
Because I do believe, looking at it, sports slides down to I call it the three P's of sports:
mm-hmm,
fitness, performance, and personality. Right, and
mm-hmm.
the reality is that not all athletes will have all three. Some athletes will have two, some people have three, some people just have one. And that's okay. Obviously, the most important P right there is actually our performance. However, as an athlete, where student athletes are concerned and developing talent is concerned, more a lot of coaches, a lot of institutions should look more just beyond the physical. Have conversation with these youngsters. Do you see yourself doing the sport beyond that high school? Do you see see yourself? Do you see yourself? Tell them about like the actual hard work in the sense that hey, you're doing this amount of work in high school. When you go to college, this might be two or three extra reps. This might be
Mm-hmm.
two one an extra half hour, an hour of two of training. This is how it feels and everything, and have past athletes, retired athletes, even current athletes, going into these schools and speaking to these youngsters about the reality of it, of the effects of sport, and basically, I'll speak to them about even the idea of even retiring, because a lot of times I think a lot of these youngsters might say, hey, I'm going to do sport forever and everything, and I say, looking at it, most times after an athlete reaches 30, like the performance tend to diminish, and it's like, hey, what's next? Have I invested enough? Have I done enough to say that if I should sit out a season, if I should retire now, will I be happy financially to move on and have a good life? I will not be worried sitting at home on a couch and worrying about next check that I would have got had I continued competing.
Before we go any further, let us just say welcome to everyone. The chat is very busy. Let us say welcome to Olympian Vonnie M, Olympian Dorothy Scott Genius. Leroy Dias is here. He says greetings from Florida. Greetings to you, sir, from Florida. So we're both in the same state. Olympian Etlin Tate is also saying good evening, everyone. Special shout out to HP and the guests, and Dorothy Scott is here. Vonnie M is saying, this is a great topic, HP, very important. I wish this was even in my thoughts back in the day. And of course, she is a 1972, 1976 Olympian. And here she's saying she wished she had something like this when she was competing. Tamika, good night. She's saying good evening, lovely people. Vonnie M is saying Usain Bolt, Noah, um, you know, and there's also HD who is bigging up Kemal. He's saying, big up Kemal, very informative youth. Trust me, I know that much. I know that much. So good night, everyone. Welcome, welcome. If you're watching on Facebook, welcome also. If you want me to see your comments and read it, please to come on over to YouTube and join us. But gentlemen, I have a question.
Shout out to Dorothy Scott too.
Yeah, shout out to Dorothy Scott, 1980s Olympian,
Yeah,
70s,
man.
80s Olympian Dorothy. Big up yourself, Auntie Dorothy. Um, whose responsibility is it to educate our athletes on things like these, branding and how to carry yourself and what is expected of you, because the whole world is watching. You have corporate watching, you have your fans watching, you have media watching. Whose responsibility is it to groom these youngsters? Is it the coach? Is it their parents?
I mean, all right. I think this is a situation in which where schools will have to call on the help of external sources, in the sense that if they are fortunate enough to have produced some of the best Olympians, best athletes per se, to come in and speak to these athletes, or even speak to a sports agent, whether or not they deal with present athletes or retired athletes, speak to them about the whole idea and the importance of branding, the importance of them having good relationship with media and just communicating properly and becoming a well-rounded individual. Because as I've stated before, a lot of coaches just coach athletes for the physical and that's it. Like nothing is being done about personal development, grooming, you becoming a brand, you becoming someone who can speak, who can articulate yourself properly, in the sense that, hey, corporate will look at you and say, you know what, that young man, that young lady is doing well, they can potentially get sponsors. And I've seen time and time again where I do really believe that had a lot of our Jamaican athletes, especially or locally based athletes, had a better presence within the media, good relations and everything, they would have been getting a lot more sponsorship, and we wouldn't have this cry that, hey, Jamaica local athletes are not getting enough sponsorship, because Jamaica does have the athletes and everything. However, speaking and engagement and everything, and I'm not saying that everyone should be speaking, should be that social and everything and bubbly and everything, because sometimes that comes naturally. You understand? But like speaking of being able to speak for yourself and everything, being able to speak to your fans, speak to the media and everything, have relationship with them, which can eventually impact your career in the long run.
Scotty, you are, as an agent, the media is watching, just like how you have fans and corporate and potential sponsors and all of these people watching. The media is also watching. Sports journalists and broadcasters are watching. These are the people who report or cover both athletics performance and personal life. there is social media influencers, people who, individuals who amplifies athletes' brand, and of course, some of them will rip it apart also. There are documentary films and stuff. Who is first responsible for the athlete's image?
Well, who's first responsible for the athlete's image?
Mhm.
That's a tough one. It all depends. I suppose you could always point to the parents of some of these athletes, how the athletes were brought up. I know when I was a youngster growing up, I couldn't leave my yard, dressed in certain ways or look in certain way, because my mother would have, where you going looking like that, young man? Things like that. So little things like that, I think, start to to help in the back of your minds, that that when you go out, your image has to be presented in a right and proper way. And I think some of that starts at home. So
Indeed.
we have a lot of coaches and who are also, who spend a lot of time with these athletes as well, even though the coach's primary focus is the athletes continued development and progress and things like that. So even from a coach's perspective, while you have some coaches who will talk to the athletes about their image and things like that, I wouldn't say it's the coaches have much role to play in that, because when a coach, most of the time that the coach spend with the athletes are on the track, right? Since we're talking about track and field, and as long as the athletes show up, properly, in proper, attire to do their training and things like that, the coach is good, with it, right? So it's not really, I wouldn't say it's the coach wouldn't play too much of an important role. Now, if the athlete have agents, I think the agents should play a more important role, because the agents are the ones who are going to be more of a, providing who are going to be more knowledgeable, how the athlete can, you know, can 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 market themselves, off the track, right? So once the athletes are off the track, then a combination of the parents and the agents who are guiding some of these athletes are the ones who are supposed to kind of at least prep them, to let them understand, and let them be aware that image is extremely important. But any number of people, that's kind of
A community.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a community type thing. It's kind of, there's no one person, I would say, who would have that responsibility.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think.
Yeah. And I think as well, as you mentioned, the community as an athlete, especially when you're growing up, potentially becoming with a college or even as a professional athlete, you do need that community. You cannot do it alone, in the sense that, hey, you need a well-rounded team, some people who are there to support you genuinely, without win, lose or draw. Because you will have people around you just supporting you because, hey, you're popular, you're doing well and everything, and you're potentially carrying on this cash and you're in a popularity and everything. But when potentially you go to this championship and do not do well, like, what will be their response? Will they still support you? Will they still be around you for the next season, rally around you for the next championship and so forth? And I do believe that the importance of community is not emphasized enough, especially in our Jamaican setting.
I totally agree with you. I am trying to I think PR is very important for athletes. You need to have a public relations manager, and I've been trying to get some athletes, or to be the public relations manager for a few athletes. And I've done a survey, and most of the athletes, and these are current athletes, most of the athletes that I spoke to, they did not see the need for a public relations manager. Now, let me ask you something, and then I'm going to say something. Scouty, how important is it, or is it important at all for athletes to have PR managers? Because athletes don't think it's important.
No, I agree with you. And I think it's extremely important for athletes to have, PR, managers around them, because sometimes there are going to be, well, for one, um, while most of the athletes do have, do a good job of, speaking and presenting themselves, and things like that, there are some who could use some, some help, in that regard.
What's that? I
Wow.
think Kemal had a little accident there.
Yes,
Go
something
ahead.
background.
Okay, all right. um, but but like I said, it's important for them to have PR, PR people around them, or at least have somebody designated to, to play that role. You know what I mean? If they don't have, if it's a resource, issue where they can hire, a PR manager, there are lots of PR, firms out there who can help the athletes develop a plan or develop some kind of strategy, to help them understand how they need to behave, how they need to act, things like that. But in track and field, you also have a lot of situation where athletes, are test positive for drugs. For example, when things like that happen, that can be a financial, disaster for a lot of athletes. You understand? So in situations like that, I tell people, track and field, the sport of track and field sometimes, get a bad rap when it comes to athletes testing positive, because I think track and field athletes are the most tested when it comes to, to drugs or anything like that. More so,
Definitely.
I don't hear football players getting tested. I don't hear
Basketballers, nothing
basketball
like that.
players, tennis players. How many times Tiger Woods get tested and all them, but track and field, Usain Bolt probably get tested every other day, or every other week, or
Hey man,
something.
them used to joke them up a lot. Asafa used to complain about it, but even Rasheen McDonald
Yeah,
that was here last week, he said when he broke the national record, every minute them come to him
Yeah,
for him
big.
to get tested.
right.
Yeah, and even with a lot of these youngsters doing well as well, my fear for them is that they will get tested a lot because as we're speaking now, even child phenomenons, like we look on, let's go to US for instance, with a Quincy Wills who is doing miraculous things, beating big professional athletes. I'm assuming that he'll be getting drug tested every time. Even somebody like even she has retired now, Alison Felix, she said as a teenager while she was doing all of those things, they would call her out of classes in school and say, here's what, come and do this drug test.
Well, yeah,
Wow.
they have out of competition tests that they have to do, and that I think, also, because I've read in various media, sources, not, even recently, where athletes, miss, out of competition, drug tests, and you wonder how that happened, because the World Athletics and the folks, in the case of Jamaica, like Jadco, those folks, they have a schedule of who they're gonna test, and when. You
But
understand?
as it is right now, you have more athletes being banned for wearable violations than for a negative drug test. And we can call
Yes.
names of the
That
amount of athletes that have been banned over the last few seasons, not because they return a negative or a positive
mhm.
result, but wearable violations.
That's because they don't stick to the schedule.
But
They,
That's
they-
one thing too,
yeah.
and I think a lot of the times you can't really blame drug testers for doing their jobs because I've heard athletes say that they're potentially in their bed on a weekend and there's no training and so forth, and the drug person is like knocking on the door, say, "Hey, you have a drug test now at 6:30 a.m." and like I understand they're doing job and everything because it's random testing, but at the same time, I don't believe even athletes have privacy per se as relates to that. And as you mentioned, even about whereabout failures, a lot of persons have tend to disagree about whereabout in the sense that hey, they weren't caught with drugs, they just missed a couple of tests and everything, and like they at the same time, a lot of athletes have said Jamaican athletes who have spoken to this said that drug testers have call them at the most inopportune time in the sense that they're going on a flight, they're in a vicinity where they potentially they can't take a test or anything like that.
But how I get to understand that the drug testing work is that if you're home, if you're at a location and water know where you are, then they can visit you at any time because the rule says if you change the location that we have for you on the system, you are supposed to update your records so that if we come to your new location and you are not there, then it is a violation, and I think they get up to three before, because the rules are there, and if you agree to the rules, then you just have to follow what the rules say. And let me tell you why I'm pushing for PR for our athletes. I am pushing for it, and I've even gone as far as saying I one athlete is enough to show how it really works, because there's stuff like scandal. When a scandal break, you cannot just disappear or not address it. Your fans want to hear what happened. Potential sponsors are watching. So you need to come out and give a statement. Now
Yes,
you don't have to tell the whole world the exact thing what happened, but your PR person should come out and say, all right, I'm going to give you an example. Um, Powell, Javon Powell, this is public knowledge. In an interview, he said he got words that Puma is not going to sponsor any of the quarter milers that ran at the trials last year. And he said because they did not turn up for national duty to run the relay to get Jamaica qualified for the Olympic Games, Puma wasn't going to. He said that's the word that he got back. I'm not sure. I'm just quoting him. No, he further said in the interview that he had a problem with his toe after he ran the 400-meter final a few days before. Now, if he had a PR person, his PR person would come out and make a statement to say, okay, Javon Powell is not available for relay duties because he is suffering some little niggles and um, he doesn't want for it to get worse. If you don't tell people what is happening, people are going to assume, people are going to look at your work ethics as a joke. People are going to
Well,
look at you
a
as a
part of
joke.
a part of the mistake some of the athletes make is that they sometimes take the attitude that it's not your business.
Right. And you
Right?
can't do
exactly.
that. That
And,
don't work. That
yeah,
don't
And
yeah. If you look at it, you can't look at it like that. You can't look at it that way. If you're a public figure and you rely on fan support, right? You don't
yeah.
rely on fan support to get paid because the fans are not paying, the athletes. That's certainly true. But you do have a certain amount of a certain persona, that you have to live up to. Because if you start to, here's where the mistake, sometimes the mistake happens here. Well, if you say, well, all the fans and the explanation about your tour, in this case, Mr. Paul, and I know, I've had communication with him. But you don't you well, right there you saw where, as a potential sponsor, turn their back on him.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, Puma said that they're not gonna, offer him a sponsorship because they didn't run the relay. Now maybe if the sponsor knew that something was wrong with him, as you are saying, they probably wouldn't have, come out and say, well, we're not going to sponsor you.
There you go.
But it and you don't have to do it personally, like you're saying. If you had a PR person, right, like yourself, you could have the PR person deliver a message, right? The PR person can also play some communication role, as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, you could be the one to deliver the message, but at least send out a, we're in the days of social media. Send out a text, say something, because here's why it's important. If let's You don't want to always be you don't want other people to create a narrative,
A narrative, exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So some of the times you have to get ahead of any negative message that is going to happen in the media or wherever. You have to sometimes get ahead of those things. If something happens, negatively, that is going to impact you, and it's important for you to get ahead of that message, because when you deliver that message or you get ahead of the situation like that, whatever comes after that, people are going to second guess whether or not that is the truth, because
Exactly.
the athlete had already delivered, say what happened. And I
So
believe
you
the
don't need
athlete,
to listen to anything else. Come on,
yeah,
your
so,
thoughts.
yeah, everything else that comes after that, it's not gonna have that much of a negative,
Yeah,
impact.
All right. So as relates to athletes, public relations, and overall, I'd say it's relationship building really, because what happens is that athletes themselves are should be able to communicate to the media, with the public really, not necessarily directly, but having some form of communication, building relationship with the media, with fans, with sponsors, etc. However, a lot of athletes just will tell the plainest and straight like, whatever I'm doing, whether or not I just got banned, I'm returning from a ban, it's enough a business. And I've seen where athletes have gotten a 3 month ban, and because the duration is in the off season and they're still training, it's like nothing. They will not come out. You will hear of them. Oh, this athlete got a ban and everything, and the ban is up on Wednesday, and they'll be competing on Friday. That's it really, and nothing is being done. And I think like going forward where this new generation of athletes are concerned, us as fans, we are not necessarily saying that we would require, I don't want to put the term need there, but would require some form of communication with you. Where is
yes,
your
we
next
want to
meet?
know.
Where-
Communicate.
you know what
Remember, Kemal, they're not just communicating with us fans, you're communicating with people who is going to potentially change your wealth. You're talking about corporate sponsors. You're talking about sponsors all over the world. And if all right, another thing that kind of I don't understand, athletes not available for national duty, and that's it. Why are they not available? Nobody knows.
Yeah. Well, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. That's for sure. And
You don't have to say everything, but put something out there
right,
to erase people from
right,
fabricating all kind of things or saying you don't care about the country. You
right.
don't say something. Have
And
your people make a post. I mean, we have even head of states using social media more than these young athletes. Say something. People want to hear something. All right, look at the situation at the Olympic Games with Shelley and Shakari. To this day, millions of fans around the world don't know what happened.
mhm.
To this day, we don't know what happened. People have all kind of stories what they think happened. Now, if I was Shelly's PR person, I would have said to Shelly, say, look, Shelly, we're going to put something out there. You don't turn up for the semi-final. Let us put something out there. Whether you didn't get enough time to warm up for the semi-final, whether it was too close to the time, whether you walk into the warm-up field, you got tired and you weren't rested enough to say something. People who are supporting you want to just hear something, and you don't have to give them the full story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
look, that's a simple statement will help in the long
yeah,
run, because I do believe that it gives us as fans some form of reassurance that, hey,
Mhm,
my athlete
mhm.
is communicating with me and I'm going to continue to support them, in the sense that this a potential sponsor might say that, here's what, this athlete is somewhat injury prone, but they are very manageable, they communicate properly, and we will want to potentially embark on a deal with them, in the sense that they are somebody who, God forbid they can't compete, they still manage to speak on everything and all that stuff. Because where our athletes are concerned, a lot of things happen in Paris that we really don't know what happened. Like, what was the story surrounding Sherika Jackson? Like, what happened? And it's just a thing where, hey, athletes come back and they compete, and they not like nothing happened. And it is not an obligation per se, but we were requiring, asking, or asking you all as athletes to communicate with us. You understand? Let us be in the know and everything. Let us support you, because even when athletes might be saying, "Oh, I don't know when my next competition is," you may never know. What one athlete I see normally does it every year is that of Kenneth Bednarik of the United States. After the in heading into the national championship or Olympic trials, Kenneth Bednarik normally releases an itinerary to say that here's what I'll be at the US Championship this weekend. And after the US Championship, this is the first meet that I'm going to,
Yes,
and
I've
you
seen
know,
some American athletes doing
yeah,
that. Yeah.
God's real life, I'll be doing this meet after the Olympics at ending my season at this meet and so forth.
Yeah,
It,
I agree. I agree, HP, that the communication is very important. You brought up a good example with the Shelley, situation, and you know, people are still wondering what happened, because this is the Olympic. She was at a meet that wasn't just another meet, even though, you know, she has been quite successful, compete representing Jamaica and herself and family and things like that at the Olympics. But this was one of those situations where, you know her and Shakari were in the same situation, got locked out, whatever. But people saw that Shakari showed up and Shelley didn't, and we don't know the facts, so we don't understand why one showed up and the other didn't, and so people are going to start asking questions, and the minute people start asking, you leave it up to people to start, you know, define, what happened, then it's going to reflect, poorly or negatively on you.
Totally, totally agree. I think PR is important, and I am not going to stop pushing it because if you are serious about your brand, you must communicate. Two things you must do: you must market it and you must communicate, because you have to remember that sponsors don't owe you anything. It's not what you, as Scotty always said, it's not what you can do for, it's not what the sponsor can do for you, it's what you can do for that sponsor. Give that
Yeah.
sponsor, give that sponsor a reason to give you their money or their resources. And I'm not talking about, let sponsors from all over the world want to be associated with your
and
brand.
and, and, and this is why I usually say that, because as I talk to athletes, the more I talk to athletes is the more I realize that a lot of times the athletes believe that you can this sponsorship is about what the company can do for you, and not the other way around. And
Hmm.
the other thing I also emphasize with them is that for most companies, sponsorship is an investment, right? It's not just them taking the money, giving it to you. I know we're not talking about the topic of sponsorship here,
No,
but
it's fine. We're talking about it
Yeah.
all.
yeah, but it's about the sponsors. Whenever they put money out there, they want to see a return on their investment. You understand? And not every company sponsor people, athletes, are looking for a return on their investment. Some companies may be doing it for different reasons. Some company may just want to be associated with an Olympic gold medal because they want to be seen as a good corporate citizen,
Hmm.
and a supporter of Jamaican track and field. They may not want any money out of it, or a return on. Well, that would be the return on their investment, right? Just to be looked upon or to be seen as a good corporate citizens. I don't know how big a deal that is, in Jamaica, but the whole social responsibility thing when it comes to companies and things like that is very important to these companies. And you know, truthfully, the reason why the athletes have need to make sure that they are always seen in as positive a light as possible is exactly what you were saying a while ago, in that you don't know who's watching, right? And a company may decide to, they may have it in the back of their mind that, I'm going to call such and such, we're going to reach out to such and such because we to offer them a sponsorship deal. But then something happened in the media, and it's a negative thing on you, and then all of a sudden, the sponsor, you don't know that they were thinking about giving you a deal. It's just something they were considering, right? But after seeing what happened, with your situation, they decided not to anymore. Now, if you had put out a statement like you were saying, or say something about what happened, maybe the potential sponsor would say, okay, all right, so I suppose we could move forward with, with reaching out to that particular athlete, because they came forward and they explained, the situation, and we're comfortable with that. Understand? And again, this is also tied to when a company sponsor an athlete, they're not just looking for a return on their investment, but the, some of the times they yes, they have a product that they're trying to market and to sell, and it is those same fans, your fans, who they rely on to buy their product or their service.
Mm-hmm.
So that is how that connection take place. That link, that it kind of link up, where you may not see the fans as that critical, in this whole scheme of things, but the company does, because it's a circle. The company will sponsor you, but then the company is also relying on that fan as a
Your fan
consumer.
base.
Yeah, your fan base as consumers to buy their product,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that loop, you have to. If you don't understand that loop, you are going to think that you don't owe your fans any explanation when something happened, to you. And but again, these are all part of the educational process that our athletes are missing, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times. I mean, I was an athlete myself, and nobody used to tell me these things. I didn't have a good enough understanding of how the whole thing, works. And most athletes, frankly, don't.
Yeah.
But it's not up to the federation necessarily. The federation, there are things that the federations can do. Um, maybe they can hire companies to, maybe they can
They
put
can have workshops. I
have
think,
workshops and
yeah,
seminars
I
and
think
things
they
like that.
can help. Yeah.
Right, and those things are valuable. Those things are absolutely important. So there are little things federations, can do, to help.
And on the note of federations, we can say time and time again, our federation can do a lot more,
A lot
more
more.
for
Mm-hmm.
athletes. And I think a lot of our newly retired athletes, and speaking up to even 10, 20 years ago, should be the ones that are stepping in, because they themselves were in this position before, so they know what it feels to have similar feelings as these athletes regarding certain issues. And because track and field is a sport that doesn't have a union per se, no one to advocate for them, is like, here's what
And my
I am
question is why? Why is it
yeah.
that track and field, why is it that track and field doesn't have a union? I've been asking that question for years. Track and field need a body, they need an athlete body. Cricket has one and it seemed to be working. Track and field, I don't know what, and track and field have so many people. Why is it that there is not a body that is willing to come together as a community and help to make the thing better for each generation? But continue, Kemal.
Yeah, and overall, like, we're as I've stated before, like, comes on to a lot of these newly retired athletes to be involved and so forth, and to basically operate things, because trust me, a lot more can be done, but like, it's a thing where potentially, like, the current administration may not want them in there to make these changes and so forth, because problems will always be there, and no federation is perfect. However, once we can basically have a lot of these problems minimized per se, to attack them as soon as possible, it would be good for the sport. But I mean, like, nothing is really happening per se, and it's like a thing where athletes have to each is his own, really. That's just a sad reality. Like, some
Yeah.
athletes are up here and some athletes are down here, and basically it's hard for no athlete themselves can be championing the cause of another athlete per se, because they themselves have to look out for their own bird, basically.
Mhm.
Amen to that, brother. But before we go any further, let us just welcome each and everyone. If you're just joining us tonight, I am here with Kemal Ford and Rainford Honeytas County, of course, the both of them from St. Andrew Technical. St. Andrew Technical High School should be happy tonight. Two of their own, and of course, we have another one in the audience with us. Ruth Williams Simpson, three-time Olympian, is here herself, formerly of St. Andrew Technical High School. She's here. Good night, Auntie Ruth. Good night. Monica Lewis is also here. She's saying she's late. You're never late, Monica. Bonnie M is saying 100% to what we're saying. Leroy Dias is saying, I totally agree with PR for our athletes. Romario Ferran is saying, what is he saying? Bubbles or something. Vivian Spence Morano, another Olympian, is here with us. So the Olympians, the athletes are here tonight, and these are all retired athletes coming from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and of course, Daniel England is also here with us. He's saying, greetings, gentle folks. HP blessings. Hi, guys. Please hit the like. Oh yes, please. Guys, I don't know what it is with me. I get so caught up in these interviews that I think I am the only YouTuber out there that is not telling people to like, share, and subscribe. So please show me some love and subscribe and share the content and put it out there for me. Thank you very much. Ruth is saying stats is in the house. Yes, St. Andrew Technical is here tonight.
I wrote.
These two gentlemen, knowledgeable gentlemen, are from St. Andrew Technical. And of course, Cody saying hi to Ruth. And before we go any further, Team Jamaica Bickle, let us big up Erwin Clare and his team there in New York. And their event, I don't know how many of you know about Team Jamaica Bickle, but Team Jamaica Bickle has been doing a lot for our track and field. It is a non-profit organization, and Erwin Clare and his team, they are doing one that's celebrating over 30 years. I think this year is their 31st year in existence. And they will be having their fundraising event on the 13th of April. And guess what is the theme? Black tie, gown, and sneakers. I love that. I love that. I love that. So their event is coming up, and for the tickets, it's $175, $200, or $300. And remember, even if you're not going to the event, you can still support. So let me tell you, Erwin and his team, when you talk about looking after our Jamaican athletes when they come to Penn's Relay, and it's not just our junior athletes, it's not just the athletes, even if you're just a Jamaican coming into the place, because I've been to his booth and they make sure that you get food, you get everything Jamaican. So big up Erwin Clare, a good friend of mine also. So his event is coming up, and let us support each other as a country, the diaspora. Let us support each other, and of course we are here tonight supporting our athletes. We're just putting some information out there for our athletes because we want them to look business-like and we want them to take their brand seriously. Kamal, is it fair for the media to report the good and not the bad, or the negative as it relates to an athlete? Is the media unfair to
All
your
right.
thoughts on that?
So let me just say this point here. Uh, a lot of the media tends to give grace to certain athletes, in the sense that if they have had a good reputation, they're doing well and so forth, the media will be nice to them and everything. And I'm saying the truth is that whether good or bad, the media should report it to us. Let us be in the know, that no one say that here's what this athlete is going through, this and so forth. And basically let us be aware, because we are there as fans to celebrate the good moments and the happy times, yet still hold them accountable when things go wrong, when they themselves are put themselves in position where that might be doping, where that might be disrespectful to officials, to teammates, to to various persons and everything. We are should be in the know to know about what's happening and everything, and nothing should be necessarily kept private per se, because again, it gives us it enables us to know about the reality, because sports isn't all fun and games and everything. There are disagreements with coaches, athletes, team members, staff, etc. So I definitely believe that the media should be reporting on both the good and the bad.
I totally agree with you. And this is where athletes should understand that their brand is their responsibility. They are a company, they're their own company, and they should take pride in that. I know that we touched a little bit on it, Scouty, but how important is maintaining that image even after you've crossed the finish line, you've hung up your spikes? Is it important to do it anymore?
Well, it depends. It depends on what what you're um, what you're gonna be doing after you retire as an athlete. If you're gonna continue to stay actively involved, then yeah, having that image is gonna be important going forward, right? But you know, what I one of the things I try to do. It's not so much a matter of you know um, having that perfect image, so to speak. The way I look at it, when I represent retired athletes, which is a pivot that I just recently made with some of the things I'm doing, and starting to realize that there's a lot of our Olympic athletes, in particular our Olympic medalists, have been are undervalued, and have been somewhat underrepresented throughout their entire career. But I don't think that their ability to earn you know
Stop.
stops when they retire. And some athletes have done really well, picking up from where they left off in terms of retirement, and continuing to generate revenues for themselves, right? I think retired athletes and some of the athletes I'm working with now, um, have the same ability to continue to generate revenues, because as I said to them, I've been talking to companies in Jamaica, and I was talking to one marketing executive from a company, and she said, "Well, Mr. Hunter, well, them retire. What am I supposed to do with them when they retire?" Uh, you know, uh, and I said, so that's kind of the mindset that you're dealing with. So even sometimes the big companies that we're always trying to get sponsorship from for our athletes, once the athletes retire, them they're done with them too. So what I said to them, don't look at it that way. I said what I do when I represent a retired athlete, I look at the totality of their accomplishments, right, over their active years of competing. And if they have won an Olympic medal, great, right? If they
But,
if they
but Scotty, not to cut you there, but just becoming an Olympian or representing your country, whether the World Championship, the Olympic Games, it is a big achievement. It is a big deal. And I think these people,
Mhm.
they have a lot to offer because we have generations of athletes who are now coming to the fore.
But let me tell you this though. A couple points I could make to that, and some the athletes, some may be seen as valid, some may be seen as you know not so valid. But when I was talking to a company not too long ago, and the lady I was talking to said that they try not to, they don't do athlete sponsorship anymore. They used to. It's a big company in Jamaica. And I said, why is that? And she went on to explain to me that they have had situations where they sponsor athletes, and they couldn't get the athletes them to show up when they invite them to make an appearance.
That's a no-no.
You can't do that. If the company are going to give you their money, to are they going to sponsor it? Sponsorship is not a charity. It's not a it's not a charity giving type.
You have to give back something.
Are they want something from out of it, right? So um So from that perspective, I think it's important. I kind of lost my train of thought with the original question that you had asked. But
No, you're on the right track. Keep going.
what was the question again?
About sponsorship, and you were saying retired athlete as opposed to active
Yeah,
athlete.
right, right,
Why
right,
should
right.
you
Oh,
sponsor?
it's a point I was going to make. It's a comment I
Yeah.
was going to make, and I was going to say that the it's not what I try to explain to the athletes, because even retired athletes, when I talk to them and explain to them what I'm doing, they too ask the question. But I'm retired now. You know what? So what are you gonna, how are you gonna, monetize me? Now that I'm retired. And I go through the whole thing, and I would explain to them how we're planning on doing that. Talk to them about the framework that we sort of put together, and all of that. But as I said before, when you not because you retire doesn't mean that your accomplishments have also retired. If that make any sense. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you have been to the Olympics, let's say you win a medal, 20 years ago, and you're retired now, that medal you can still do things to market yourself based on that accomplishments, that accomplishment. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So don't athletes, you put a lot of work in, you put a lot of time and effort in. It's a and I hear athletes say this all the time. I was one too, like I said. And yeah, we get up and we work hard and we do. So when you achieve some level of success, make that continue to work for you. And there are ways in which we can do that. You can go and speak and engage. Okay, so you can't run anymore. Can you talk? What prevents you from go on some speaking
Go and
engagement?
tell your story.
Your story. You
A
go all
little
over the
part of
country.
your story to a
Go
group.
yeah, go tell your story. Talk about how you started in the sport. A lot of companies value that. Companies will bring you in to come speak to their employees, because employees has to be productive. And while the companies are doing their thing, to make sure that their employees remain productive. They can also, as an athlete, you can also go in and explain to those employees, such and such, when you come to work late every day, your manager talk to you about it, you still and you said to them,
As an athlete, we had to wake up 4 o'clock,
I used to have to wake up 4 o'clock and five
Yeah.
o'clock to go
go
to go
tie
to
out the
training.
goat, and then come
Yeah,
back to
yeah,
training,
yeah.
and then go get ready for
And,
school.
and I was never late. I was
But
never late.
let me ask Kamal something.
Companies want to hear those things.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Kamal. Scotty was telling us that some companies are very reluctant in sponsoring athletes because they sponsor athletes and then they cannot get the same athletes to appear anywhere for them. How can we get our athletes to understand that it is a partnership, it is a business that you're doing? I give you my money, I give you my resources. If I'm having an event, I would love for you to be there to open the event, to give a 5 minute speech. How do we get them to understand that it is a business that they're doing and a company is not just doing them a favor?
All right, it all comes down to time management, really, where the athlete should be able to have a good relationship with their coach and saying that here's what I I have to be doing this sponsorship application, this photo shoot, this appearance, etc. at this time and everything, in the sense that what they're going to do, whether to align the training around that. So let's say, for instance, no, the workload will probably have to double for that week, or in the sense that for sure that their recovery is also being prioritized. So let's say, for instance, they themselves would be training in the morning and they have an event at 9 o'clock per se, and knowing what the time schedule is to go home to recover and everything, it will take a longer time. So in the sense that they would sacrifice that time and go, and in the sense that the coaches themselves would know and have good relations and know the fact that, hey, they try to ask the sponsors to align these events around their specific timing as athletes when they're off. Because even say for instance, if an athlete potentially has a 5-6 hour window within one day, that's a good time to utilize and everything for them to do the engagement and so forth, go home, get ready again for training and so forth, and do that same job. Granted, it's quite demanding, but athletes themselves should be able to be accustomed to that. Or even sometimes in the preseason, get a lot of these appearances and photo shoot done and everything. Get them done in a time where you're not competing, because when it comes out of the summer, you're unavailable. You cannot make an appearance in a photo shoot. Anything. It's just your job focusing on getting that money on the track.
Who should compromise?
Uh,
That is
it's a
the question.
it's a combination of both. It's a combination about the athlete and about both athletes and about the athlete, coach, and the sponsor
Sponsor.
involved. So I mean, it will have to come down where if all three entities should meet and everything and discuss and say, here's what training is at X time and so forth. So what you can do to pencil out this 3 hour window and so forth, because this was available. And in the sense that they themselves are committed, the sponsor themselves should be able to remember the sponsor wants the athlete, so they themselves as the sponsor should be able to fix their schedule around the athlete, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Education and skills. Pursuing further education. Is that really important? I have a lot of money. I went to high school, started college, I stopped. I made a lot of money on the circuit. Do I really need to go learn a skill? Education? Is it?
I okay. I mean, I have a college degree, so I'm probably going to be biased with my response. Um, you know,
I think the three of us are going to be biased.
right? We might be biased, in we respond, we answer this question. So, um, I mean, the way I usually hear, the way people usually respond to this is well, yeah, it's important to have a degree because you have to have something to fall back on, right? And athletes are very fickle, and sometimes our career is just one injury away from being over.
Mm-hmm.
Athletes can't plan on having a 20-year career, by 30, 35. And that's the other thing too. I was talking to a promoter friend of mine this morning, and he's in the music. He's a music, promoter. He doesn't do it as much these days, but um, one of the points he made to me, we were having this conversation. We were on the phone for about an hour, and he made a point to me that I thought was very important when he said, one of the things you have to understand, Scott, is that athletes' career ends when most athletes are retiring at when they as soon as they turn 30.
The
They're
average, yeah.
yeah, that's right around there. Some even before that. You understand? Not to mention burnout. From what we have done. Because it's our body that we're putting through all this hard work, right? And what he said, when an entertainer goes up on stage, yes, he or she probably work hard for an hour, or stuff like that. But them have a week to recover. Most of the time the athletes them don't really have that much time to recover. Or the lifespan of an entertainer can be a lot longer than that of an athlete. We know entertainers today who are still belting out hit songs at 50 and 60 years old. Which athlete you see out there competing, in their 50s and 60s. It just doesn't happen like that. So it's important for them to have something to fall back on, and that is just my viewpoint when it comes to having the importance of having an education. I also think that the education thing helps the athletes a little bit to think a little bit more, because their minds are going to be trained a little bit better than if they didn't go to college and get a degree or something like that, right? So you need to understand how to financial management aspect of your whatever it is you're pursuing, as an athlete. And unless you take some kind of formal training, educational training, whether it's getting a degree or going to some seminars or taking a certificate course somewhere or whatever, you have to do something, to gain that education.
I think we need to, I think a lot of this that we're talking about for the athletes is that it need to be taught. Certain behavior need to be taught, and there's something called transferable skills. And we need to teach our athletes how to use those skills when they retire. I mean, something like teamwork, transferable skills. We're talking about teamwork, we're talking about leadership, we're talking about discipline, resilience, all of those things. They have it, but I don't think they know how to use it after they retire, because you've had some athletes when they're going to retire, they're like, I mean, I remember an athlete said to me, HP, when I was retiring, I felt sad because I did not know what I was going to do. Your thoughts, Kemal?
All right, so I do believe that athletes should be able to develop a plan or develop an identity outside of sport. One such athlete that has recently retired, many persons should be aware that Stephanie McPherson, multiple time 400 meters national champion, has, hanged up her spikes, and she has actually embarked on a journey to study physiotherapy. I think she's in the States
She retired.
currently. And
She was still running.
no, she retired last season. Her
Yeah.
last race was at the Diamond League final in Brussels last September. And I do believe that retirement should be at least a 3 to 5 year process. In the sense that what are you going to do? You put your pen to paper and say, here's what. Within this time, no matter how I feel, I'm going to leave the sport. Because there's no perfect retirement per se, but I think one athlete who had the perfect retirement is that of, he's known as a Grand Slam track head now, Michael Johnson, but multiple world championship and Olympic gold medalist himself decided to retire after the Sydney 2000 Olympics, where he defended his 400-meter title, and he did mostly relays in 2001. And I still believe to this day, had he went to Edmonton for the world championship, he would have actually won gold in the 400 meters. But Michael was saying that, hey, I'm finished with this and so forth. And looking at it, it should be a 3 to 5 year plan. And when you decide to make that decision, you will feel saddest because you have actually committed all your life to this sport and people know and everything. But it is not that hard to pivot in the different industry or different sector person, because you already prepared yourself. You and your team have already gone through the whole process of knowing whether or not certain things would be feasible for you as a retired athlete now.
So they definitely need to have a plan. But I'm going to go back to this question over and over. Who is supposed to guide them into this plan? How are they going to come up with the idea? I mean, when I was 20, even when I was 25, I didn't know what I want to do. I just never settled down, and my father never knew what to do with me. And he was like, something, I'm going to send you away for a year at a boarding school. And my father sent me away for a year. And after that year, and I came back, no, I was early 20s, and I still did not settle down. And he had to say no. And he sent me to a place where I had to do my own laundry. I had to get up early in the morning, which is something I never normally do. And he said I needed some straightening up. So I'm saying that to say, who is going to help these young people to straighten up, that when they get to another level, they have this plan in their archive that they can also now say, this is what I'm going to do. I interviewed Taekwondo Tracy last year, and he has a degree from UTech in, I think it's construction.
Construction, yes.
Construction, and he told me that when he's finished with track and field, he's going to be engineering houses or whatever he's going to do. So he has a plan. He already has his plan. But the average athlete, how do we get them to have that plan so that later on they don't become broke, and then we're trying to find a way to help them? And how How do we do it? Who is supposed to do it? Is
Well,
it the club that they're a part of? Is it the governing body? Is it the Ministry of Sport? Where does it start?
the parents need to play a key role in all of that with respect to to education, yeah, and things like that, because that's the one area I would say the parents can really intimately involve with their kids. So from what I understand, you know most of the times, um you know these kids gets into certain people's hands, and these people end up having even more power than the parents do, over what the kids them do. You understand? And I don't know if that's a matter of how some of our, if it's a cultural thing, and how our kids were brought up.
And
I don't.
as you say that, hold a thought. I'm going to read something. Monica Lewis is saying, yes, HP, the Philadelphia chapter is doing a brunch for the fundraising, and that is to do with Team Jamaica Bickle. Leroy Dias is saying something. I was just reading it, and he said, PR and branding are relatively new to our culture, so there will be growing pains and learning curves. No, we are almost, I'm going to say, we're over 100 years in track and field. We've been competing in track and field from way back, from the days of Mr. G.C. Foster. And Mr. G.C. Foster was around. He actually made the Olympic qualifying time for the 1908 Olympic Games. Of course, he did not compete because Jamaica was not yet a member of the IOC, but he was still competing in track and field. So we are over 100 years, and you're trying to tell me that at this stage of the game, it is going to be hard to get professional athletes to understand that PR and branding is vital to them. Before we go there, Vivienne Morano is saying, Olympian Vivienne is saying, I believe that one can be successful without a degree. I totally agree with you, Vivienne. Most of what is learned by most people was not taught in school. True. Companies are willing to train you. They just want to see a degree on the resume. And I totally agree with her. Leroy saying, HP, I think that should begin in the schools. And Vonnie M is saying, some parents have no clue. And that is so true.
All of
No,
those are true.
all of what you guys just, and this is why I love my audience because they are on top of this thing, and I totally agree with all of them. But my question is, um I am for sustaining our legacy. I want our legacy to keep going and going. It break my heart at the Olympics last year that for the first time in maybe over 40 years, Jamaica did not brought home a medal in not one of the five relays. And I'm talking about from as far back as 1948. We've been winning gold medal in the relay coming all the way up. And we did not even one relay medal we won this time. Or did we? No.
Mm-mm.
So the point I'm trying to make is that we need to catch up and we need to catch up fast. Our athletes need to understand that they are a company, they're an organization. And depending on how you manage your based on how you manage your organization will determine what you get out of it at the end of the day. You are a brand walking around. You have to separate yourself from the ordinary person. And this is why I just want one athlete to give me the go ahead to be their PR person. We just want one athlete to start with. No, seriously, show them that it is needed. People want you to communicate with them. Your fans want to hear what's going on. And anything you tell your fans, no matter what somebody has come and say, they're going to believe what you came out and say, what your camp said.
Right. But, no. Um. the degree thing, and I agree with Vivian, here, where she said, I believe one can be successful without a degree. That is absolutely, true. Um,
Mhm.
but um, what we also have to take into consideration as well is that because the lifespan of a track and field athlete is so short, right? Because by the time you reach 30, you're getting ready to retire, right? What if you don't have a degree and you retire at 30, then what?
Research show that you can learn a skill or do some certification, just like what Kemal said. Stephanie is now on her way to become a masseuse. Kemal?
Yes, I guess she's in college in the United States and everything's doing physiotherapy now at the
There
moment.
you go. There you go. So it goes back to education. You have to have something because the thing about an athlete life, the right injury can throw you out of the game forever.
Oh yeah,
And we can call names.
right. Yeah, and that's something to plan for, which is why I'm saying that um, I for the athletes who decide not to pursue, some uh, formal education at some point, it's only going to hurt, them, unless you make enough money in the sport to the point where you don't need a degree or any, special, skills or anything like that. But those athletes are only few and far between. I mean, the study shows that less than 2% of athletes, professional athletes, even earn a livable wage. 98% of professional athletes you see out there don't make a lot of money and don't earn a proper wage. So yeah, they have to. And the other thing to keep in mind, a lot of companies are not going to hire you if you don't have a degree, right? If you don't have a degree, good companies are not going to hire you.
That's true.
Usually that's your ticket to get your feet in the door or your foot in the door. As far as starting a post career after athletics. So I think having that formal education is important, and it's for the athletes who get sponsors. It's they, well, the shoe companies, I know they will pay for the, if the agent negotiate the education part of it. That can be negotiated as part of their contract, their agreement.
The big one,
Yeah,
financial literacy.
yeah.
Financial literacy is the big one. And this is not just for athletes, this is for all of us. This is for all of us. Financial literacy I think, is one of the biggest problems that a lot of us are having. And I say a lot of us. I'm not just pointing at athletes now. Financial. And I did some reading and it says athletes may face a drastic income reduction after they retire. And that is true. That is true because the money that you earn when even though you have people who have retired and are earning some crazy, they're actually earning more money now than when they were playing sport. One of those athletes that we can speak about is Shaq O'Neal. Shaq is everywhere. Shaq is involved. He is so visible as a retired athlete.
Hmm. Yeah,
How do
you and I talked about that. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
how do we get our young athletes who are making money from as early as 17, 18, 19 from teens? How do we get them to manage their money without them thinking that people are going to bad mind them because they have the money and they can buy anything? How do we get them in that mindset to think about their 30s and their 40s? Come on.
All right, so regarding athletes and money and spending and all that stuff, I do believe that it comes down to what you invest in, whether or not you invest in potentially stocks, real estate, and basically you potentially investing in various business entities that are booming at the moment. Because the thing about it is, you need a good return on your investment as an athlete, and in the sense that when you retire, you cock up your foot on your city and everything. You should not be worrying about finances. You should not be worrying about how your bills are paid. And I do believe that setting up certain things from now in your 20s, so that when you potentially retire now, you can still whether or not you decide to work or everything is basically, it's not necessarily a burden per se, like you're going to get up and be like, oh, I have to go to work to make this amount of money and so forth. But it is all investing your money in the right way, in the sense that stocks, bonds, real estate, etc., knowing the fact that your is making money for you, and you can enter into business for yourself and everything, and work with various entities that are, paying you. Because as an athlete, as a brand, no matter how old or young you be, your impact on the whole will always be lasting, in the sense that the same person who won the Olympic gold medals 13 years ago now is the same, is still valid, in the sense that because of their name and everything, a lot of persons would want to buy things, or invest because that person is a part of the investment.
But how do we get them in that frame of mind, Scotty?
All right. It starts from
All right.
school, from high school, having workshop about the importance of financial literacy, about the importance of them saving from an early age. Granted, yes, you get the first show contract and everything. You want to buy the car. You want to, as imagination would say, skate on the tool and everything like that. However, you have to basically think about, like, what am I going to save and everything? What the money that I'm making now, how can I basically use that money to make more money for myself and to get additional sponsorship and so forth, and basically ensure that I am okay, and potentially giving back to society as well as an athlete and so forth, but having enough money for yourself. Like somebody like a Johan Blake, I've seen is actually like make good investments and so forth with various business and all of that, and knowing the fact that he's in a good position now where if he should retire tomorrow financially, it wouldn't be a burden for him per se.
Scotty, your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Okay, so financial literacy. Um, I'll start a study I read. I saw not too long ago, where they talked about, well, the article that I was reading, the person who wrote the article was talking about how most well, not most professional athletes, but a lot of professional athletes go broke within 5 years of retiring. Think about that, right? And he was talking about basketball players who were making $100 million a year, $200 million a year, 5 years after they retire, right? They're broke, and that goes back to your point, um, the topic of discussion. What were they doing with all the money, when they were, making, $100 million or $200 million a year? Was it a matter of, the people they had around them who were, what was going on there? Where was this money going? What was this person intimately involved in the management of their funds, as the funds were coming in? But just, I think if they were better educated on the financial literacy, aspect of managing their income, some of that probably could have been retained. Some of those money that they earn could have been retained. But that's kind of a difficult one, because I know Kemal it's, mentioned the schools a lot in a lot of his responses, and to a certain extent, a lot of that is true. But most of these schools have a curriculum that they kind of have to stick by. It's almost like, to be educated when it comes to financial literacy. You have to get some, you know you have to continue to educate yourself. For example, if somebody go to school, you take or one of those schools, and they major in finances or financial planning or whatever, yeah, they're going to have a good enough understanding of, financial literacy. But what about the kid who went to high school, who went to a trade school like mine? I mean, I'm not. I went to a trade school, and yeah, they teach us a little bit here and there and all that kind of stuff. But you can't really depend on the schools to answer all the questions.
I have a plan what we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanna say what it is now?
I have a plan that we need to do scouting. I think maybe I shouldn't say it here because somebody might run with my idea, but I think we can fix this. We can fix this problem. We just have to, yeah, we can fix this problem. We are going to fix this problem. We're going to fix this problem.
Okay. Okay.
But who, I keep asking the same question over and over. You guys might get tired of me, but who is responsible for the image of our athletes? And that is the big question in how finding a purpose. Is it important for our athletes to find a purpose when they retire? Them have them money, them have them house, them have them car. Why do they need to find a purpose? Is it important? Come on, why is it important?
All right. So again, parents can do so much and no more for children, and where the development of them are concerned and everything. I don't believe the parents can really prepare you for like prepare as best as possible, really, but they themselves learning and everything, somewhat making their own mistakes per se, but you don't want them to make a huge mistake, a huge spending and everything that will set them back for a good time and everything. And I do believe that them becoming financially disciplined and everything, and like I don't believe that sponsors should be giving them too much cash in hand as youngsters. You understand? Don't give these athletes and everything too much. Basically, them potentially getting
Mine
a
is so bad mind, mine is so we're
no,
bad.
them getting a trusted financial advisor, someone who basically speaks to them getting into the habit of checking their bank accounts frequently. You understand? Being able to be apart, being able to be someone who is not only just spending and just living the whole lavish lifestyle, but eventually just knowing the fact that okay, they're spending and everything, they're looking at checking their bank accounts on a frequent basis and see what they can do to potentially earn more money, whether from a sponsorship or them just being a brand by themselves.
Yeah, but when the athletes are young, those things are not those things are far from their minds.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe some of the federations them need to have like more seminars and webinars on different topics and bring experts in, to talk about some of that kind of stuff.
Don't give
I,
away the
I mean,
secret.
I don't know where else to go. I mean, they can, you
But
know,
you know who I would love to talk to? I would love to talk to Usain Bolt to to find out from him when he was earning the money from, a youngster. What were some of the advice that he was getting? Is it that he had somebody behind him who was guiding him financially? Granted, he has lost a lot of his money, but I would like to hear some of the advice because I think Usain Bolt had a structured team based on how his career was flowing because I was watching closely. And based on how his career was flowing, it seemed as if he had a team of people around him doing stuff with him, guiding him, and we're seeing his success today even after he has walked away from the sport. Was Usain Bolt the type of person that would listen? Because that's the other thing. You can give the advice, but are the youngsters listening? Are they saying, well, it's my money, it's me going out there to run for it, so I can do anything with it? But we have to go find a way to help them. We will have to find a way to get
yeah,
the information in their head and open their mind to looking at their 30s and their 40s. And I think if we can do that, we will get more of our youngsters investing. And it doesn't mean you have to go put your money in one of those places. There's so many things that you can put money in. There's so many places they can put their money. So we need to have.
They need to. They at least it will help. It will be help at at an early stage if they have like a financial advisor. And I know some agents do play that role. Either they try to do it themselves, to advise the athletes them on their finances and how to manage their money. Are some agents outsource that? They will refer the athlete to a particular financial management company, and have that company advise the athlete with respect to their revenues, because it's those same companies that maybe even an accountant or somebody like that who understand the financial aspect of things. And with respect to you saying, I don't know his situation very too as closely enough, but the one thing I can see with Usain as in his throughout his whole career is that he has only had one agent and one coach. I mean, I'm not sure what that
Yeah,
means. When I say that, I
yeah,
think I know what it means.
yeah. He really had a team that was his team was doing the
Because
right things.
if that wasn't the case, he wouldn't have had just one agent and one coach. So obviously they were giving him good advice that he was comfortable with,
Mhm.
right? And I know you know Glenn Mills will steer in the right direction. He's one of those coaches who's gonna give the athletes good advice. It's not just about, hey, training start at you know X time, and you need to be there and all that kind of stuff. And he's gonna give you advice outside of what happens on the track. And I don't know how many coaches do that. Maybe Stephen Francis do the same thing. Maybe David Riley do the same thing. Some of these other coaches, I don't know, because I don't know much about these coaches. But the athletes, they put a lot of their trust and confidence into their coaches. And
Yeah,
so
their camps, whichever
yeah,
camp
they
they're
are
in.
right. And but you also have to be careful. You have to be careful, because you just don't know who is doing what, or who is who when it comes to your finances and things like that. But it's a difficult. It's
Athletes
tough.
athletes need to be encouraged to be proactive, to take some of the responsibility in things that they want to do, how they want their image to look, and they have to look business like. How can we get, and this is for Kemal now, how can we get our athletes to open their mind to sponsorship and to realize that sponsorship is not just an apparel company?
Well, it comes on to, again, from the grassroots roots level. A lot of the times, high school coaches just focusing on train, perform at meets. However, the external work isn't necessarily being done in the sense that, hey, we know for sure that you've always wanted to be signed for a shoe company, but here there's a restaurant, there's clothes, there's fashion, there's music, there's certain things that you can go into as an athlete. Open your mind to just things beyond just sport, because the thing about it is a lot of athletes who just want to be aligned to sports, to gear companies, shoe companies, etc. There's watch companies, telecommunications company. There are various entities that you can potentially be signed to getting devices. If you're somebody who love games, various entities can sponsor you. If you love gadgets, if you love love laptops, of all of those things, they
Is
can
it is it the athlete though? Is it the athlete though,
the athlete as well,
or
and
is it
the agent
right?
as well has a responsibility to potentially go and find the necessary sponsors and everything, prepare a proposal, persuade these persons and says, here's what they have an athlete, this athlete is doing well, they like music, they like so and so and everything. This is why I think you should sponsor my athlete.
All right, you should do some research and come back and let me know how many athletes submit proposals to to companies looking for sponsorship. I guarantee you that it probably doesn't exist, which is a lot
Yeah,
of what we do,
yeah.
right?
And the thing is that I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems as if we're culturing our young athletes to think that a lucrative sponsorship can only come from an apparel company. Nobody's looking at any other organization because if you look at most of our athletes right now, active athletes, only a few of them have more than one sponsor. Only a handful of them have
Yeah,
their apparel sponsor and they have other sponsors. Only a handful.
right. I think the focus on the shoe company, they what you call them, shoe companies or apparel companies, is mainly because those companies are the ones who also provide the spikes for the athletes to run in, right? They provide the gear, you know, and most like you can while you can seek sponsorships from other sources and they should, it shouldn't come down to it. There's also a thing about when it comes to the to getting sponsored from one of those companies, Nike, Puma, Adidas, New Balance, whoever. It gives the athletes a sense of them arriving. If they get a sponsorship from a Nike or Puma, it makes them feel like that they have arrived. When in fact, I know for a fact a lot of athletes only get gears. They don't even get any money. Some may get a small, couple $1,000s here and there, but it's not much. It's not much of anything. But they are fine just getting the gears
Because they
because
don't
it
understand. They don't
makes them
understand.
no, but it makes them look as if it's something they have arrived. When
Yeah.
I
And
when,
this is why we need them to understand the business side of things. This is your career, and from your career, your intention is supposed to be to finance your lifestyle. You have a career, you went out and get a career because you
yeah,
want to get paid to sustain your lifestyle.
I had an athlete one. Okay,
Go
go ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead. It's fine.
I had an athlete one time. I talked to him and we went to a meet and I see the man came out in the full brand of this particular company's uniform. I'm not gonna call him name, right?
No, don't call it.
Yeah, yeah, the full brand, um, uniform, spikes, and everything. And I said, "Oh, you got sponsored?" And he said, "No." And I said, "So why you promoting the company's stuff like that? And you haven't gotten sponsored." I said, "What if a competitor saw you wearing that and you go out there on a blazing time? You think the competitor is gonna approach you because they're gonna feel like you're already a sponsored athlete?" So
So
I said,
you
"Why?
see, it goes back to what I said. They don't
Yeah,
understand the business side of it. They
yeah."
don't
I said,
understand.
don't do that again. The next time you show up to a meet, wear your country uniform. If you ever represent your country, wear that uniform there.
Yes, man, you wear the black, green, and gold, man, if you don't have a sponsor.
And wear
You,
some kind of black, green, and gold combination, or if you're an American athlete, you wear some red and white, thing. Or,
Mhm.
don't promote, don't give them free, don't give free promotion. But they want to do that because a friend, who had a lot of stuff, gave passed down and gave him some stuff,
They
and
don't understand the
I said,
business side of it. You are helping a
yeah,
company, you're exposing a company to, because a lot of people will say to me, how is it that I have branded t-shirts, and a lot of people say, how come I've never seen one of your branded t-shirt on your shirt? And I said, no, they don't sponsor me, so I'm not going to I prefer to wear a plain t-shirt.
That's a
You,
good idea. That you have on right there. I don't see it
yeah,
on it. It have, yeah,
see?
it have no logo on it or anything.
No, right. I
Yes.
just brand myself with my brand. If somebody want me to wear their brand, then they'll call me up and say, all right, HP, this is what we want you to do. But I'm not going to wear the brand things that I have in my closet. And nowadays, I don't even wear them when I'm going on the road. They're just in my closet. And so, I'm saying that to say that sometimes our athletes, they don't understand the business side. They don't understand that sport is a business. They don't understand that it's a career, like how you become an engineer, you become a pilot, a doctor, chief, whatever. They don't get it that being an athlete, you are a brand. They don't get it. And just to read some comments before we wrap up here. Bonnie M is saying, oh yeah, she did say some parents don't have a clue. Ruth Simpson was saying, Olympian was saying, good money management is essential for retaining money earned. Let me read that again. Good money management is essential for retaining money earned. Knowledge is key. So we need to have the knowledge. And my last question for us to close out with is, and this is in closing, understanding and planning for life after sport is essential for a smooth and successful transition. By addressing these key areas, athletes can make the shift from competition to the next phase of their life with confidence and purpose and everything that we've been talking about. So, gentlemen, your overall thoughts on the topic life after the finish line. Are we educating our youth enough?
All right. So we're doing enough, like within this age of social media and everything, access to information is a lot easier. However, a lot more can be done from person speaking to athletes, athletes having a good team in the sense that athletes planning retirement 4 or 5 years in advance, because no athlete wants to be leaving a sport because of be in doing competition injury. Like no athlete wants to say that, oh, my last race was at this meet and like that was it for me. I never competed again. However, it's making the plan 2 years in advance, putting pen to paper and saying, here, I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing that, and understand the fact that, hey, when I leave this sport, I will feel emotional, yes, but it's not a thing where I will be I will be in a position where I'm hungry for the finances and everything, because you're already made enough money out of it. Enjoy the time and understand that you retired when you were in that time when you saw it fit to basically leave after having such a good career. Because to me in track and field, if you make a championship team 10 years apart, like that's really good in track. You understand? That's really good. And the thing about it is as well, they themselves should, apart from agents and coaches doing their jobs and everything, they basically, as athletes, should educate themselves. Check your bank accounts regularly. Speak. You get what I'm saying, and understand that you're investing in the right things, and knowing the fact that you're making enough money in the long run.
Well,
Scotty?
how much money is enough? Like I said, for some of these athletes who doesn't have, a pension plan or a retirement plan or anything like that. And we also have to understand too that, you know, even though you have, I would say less than 1 to 2% of our athletes, really make a good living out of the sport when they were actively competing. You understand? What's that?
Someone is that you, Kemal? Kemal?
Yes, you hearing me now?
Yeah, I was hearing it like we were having an echo.
Yes,
Okay, go
some audio hiccup. Sorry about that.
Okay,
okay, go
okay.
ahead, Scotty.
Yeah, man. So, and Ruth put it, well here, where she said, good money management is essential for retaining money, money earned. You just have to, have a plan, and the athletes need to have people around them, who are who basically have their best interests at heart. Once they start making money, they're gonna need to realize, to realize that, managing the money is going to be important. you know but there's a lot goes into it, being a professional track and field athlete, especially when you have to get up and, I heard Shellyan was doing an interview one time. I think it was an interview I saw, and she was talking about how she have to take a sleeping pill every time she go on a plane, because she hate flying. She don't like flying. She don't enjoy flying. Maybe I shouldn't say hate, but she, but she has to do it because it's her.
It's a job. It comes with a job.
Yeah, it's her job, it's her career. So she have to take a sleeping pill every time. Does most young athletes understand that? There's a lot that comes with being a professional athlete, and everything from money management to, if you're not, if you're somebody who's scared of flying, I don't know, maybe track and field, becoming a track and field athlete at a very high level is probably, you probably need to reconsider, doing that. But there, it's a lot for the athletes to really, think about, and get their heads around, get their arms around. It's a challenging, it's a challenging, it's going to be some challenging times ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
The thing,
the agents some need to do a good enough, a better job at at looking for opportunities, because most athletes earn money, what, two or three ways. You know, prize money from meets, a sponsorship if they're lucky enough. Maybe the good ones might get a brand ambassador opportunity with a company or something like that. But there are probably 40 different ways to generate
Yeah.
revenue.
And really, as well, a lot of these athletes are fortunate enough to get funding from their governments, because a lot of the governments,
So,
especially with countries that don't necessarily have a plethora of athletes, but have but one or two athletes are doing well, so they normally get funding per se, even if it's just like airfare and all of that stuff.
so
yeah,
is it that we have too many athletes doing
Not
well,
necessarily.
not doing well? Because I mean, I know that.
what, Jamaica,
Yeah, because he was
or
no Jamaica, because he was saying, you have countries who will look after their athletes a certain way, especially if they don't have a big pool. Because I know that when I look at the celebration that they had for Paulino when she went back home, and for Julian Alfred, it would be easy to give them so much because they don't have a big pool of athletes. But when we have a big pool of athletes who are coming back home with how much gold medal, 3 gold medals, 2 gold medals, so many athletes, how do we compensate them? But as you rightfully said, there are over 40 ways to generate revenue as an athlete, but we continue to be in the box where we think that to generate revenue as an athlete is either by an apparel company, the money that you make when you go to competition, and maybe an ambassador. But the two main ones is apparel and prize money. But there's so many ways to generate money.
appearance fees. Depends on who you are.
Mhm.
You might get
Right.
an appearance fee here and there. But like you said, there are a multitude of other things. So many. But this is why it's important for the athletes to develop a formalized branding, strategy, for themselves. Or
But
find
they
somebody.
don't know, they don't have the knowledge. They
No,
don't understand
no,
these things.
yeah, find somebody who can help you with it. But you're right. They need to be taught that. Somebody need to explain the benefit of that. The being visible. Being visible doesn't necessarily mean you show up at every track meet every week. You know, it all depends on who the audience is. What kind of meet is it? You understand? But there are other ways to be visible. You can do speaking engagements. You can do, start a podcast program like you, and get some subscribers. You do it once a week and talk about your experience. I know some athletes are starting to do more of that now. You understand? But it's most of the retired athletes who are doing it. And I get it, because when they're actively competing, it's very difficult for them.
Time consuming,
Yeah,
different time zones and so forth.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's difficult. It's a challenge, but but have a plan in place, have a plan, have a strategy in place,
Yeah.
and because it gets very complicated.
Yeah, we need to talk to them about stuff like these, and we need to go on a mission. We're going to go on a mission to do this, because there's so many different ways to give back to your country, and give back, and we are going to find a creative and a unique way to give back to our athletes and stuff. But gentlemen, in closing, is there anything that we did not touch on that you think is some vital information to our athletes? We have some athletes waiting in the wings to retire. Some of them they're closer to retirement than others. We have some might go in another few years. What do we tell them if they have not started their plan as yet?
Okay, for me is that if I were in when we're in the position to a close one athlete and every to speak to them about anything relating to retirement or their career, is basically to ensure that you're investing in various things that are making money. Like real estate is one of the best things. People always need houses for rental, for to purchase, etc. As well as ensuring that you basically continuously check your finances. Check your finances as often as possible. Ensure that you're not spending too much, in the sense that you're actually earning enough as well. And your money is making money for you, and ensuring that as well you're basically enjoy some of your money. Of course, you make it and everything. Enjoy it. Do not necessarily say I'm a firm believer in saving and everything, but enjoy something, enjoy life and everything. But ensuring that you're checking your finances and keeping up to date as what is happening regarding business ideas, anything that's relating to getting you more money to help your money to make more money for you.
One of the things I also want to close with, I notice, especially with respect to track and field, um, um, soliciting sponsorship is like that's what every athlete's dream, is to get sponsored by mostly a company or something like that. But this is what I'm saying, that most athletes need to brand themselves, right? Because when you develop a personal branding strategy, you are basically saying that you're going to be operating like a company, right? And when you brand yourself, instead of soliciting sponsorship from companies, you can sell sponsorship. So instead of soliciting sponsorship, you become a brand. You now turn around and sell your brand as a sponsor, right? So if somebody develop a website, right, and they're trying to promote the website, you can make yourself available, as a potential sponsor for the website, because look, you have 500,000 subscribers, you won an Olympic medal. At that point, you become your own brand. Let them come to you and ask you to spot. Let them pay you to come market their website, or pay you to come market their newsletter, or whatever it is they develop that they're trying to sell. You can do that. They don't have to go to Digicel and Flow and those kind of people, because you have an audience, you have a fan base that you have already built, and you are going to commit to them that, yeah, okay, I can do that. I can help you tap into my fan base. It's going to cost you X amount of money, because you're going to have
Indeed.
to pay me, but I can market it. But it's kind of the flip side of people thinking all the time, athletes thinking all the time, that sponsorship is about what the company can do for them. And in this case, when you're a brand, then yeah, you become that company that people are going to say, can you, I want you to do this and that and the other for me. So
Amen. With
yeah,
that said, we have, and gentlemen, we need to continue having these discussions because we need to be educating, we need to be educating people about this. And this is our way of giving back to the sport that we love so much. We don't want to see our athletes fall by the wayside after they've retired and stuff. So this is our way of sharing our knowledge and giving back to track and field Jamaica. And as you can see, my tagline is Jamaica Track and Field Legacy. So we just have to, as a unit, as a community, continue to have these conversations. And I mean, I interviewed an athlete last week, and the athlete said he didn't have any sponsor. So we have to. There are a lot of ways out there that an athlete can generate revenue. Let us just open our mind and do a little bit more work for our athletes if we are representing them. So, gentlemen, thank you very much. St. Andrew Technical in the house, Stats. Thank you very much to Stats.
Thank you
And
very much for having me. Really appreciate it.
anytime, anytime. And I appreciate you too. And guys, I have to give Kemal the credit for this. He was the one who came up with this topic and said, HP, let us do this topic. So I have to big him up for this. He was the one who reached out to me in January and said, let us collaborate and do it. And this is what I like. We're collaborating and doing this for Jamaica and, of course, ourselves and stuff. So it I learn a lot here tonight and it has opened my mind a little bit more. I mean, my mind is open, but even more now listening to you, gentlemen, and of course, alumnus from the alumni of St. Andrew Technical School. And thank you very much,
and
Scouty.
I love what you're doing, HP. I love how you're bringing back some of our legendary athletes from out of the woodwork, and wherever you're finding them, I don't know, but you're doing a good job finding them and having them on your show, and these athletes need to be aware. These individuals need to be aware that they're not done. They're not done yet.
Your legacy lives on.
Their legacy lives on, and as Admiral Bailey said, when I think with it done, there are lots of other things that there are things that can be done if you represent your country well, and you achieve the kind of achievements at a high enough level. There you can still generate revenues even now.
Indeed,
I mean,
indeed. Thank you very
you wouldn't
much.
believe some of the athletes that I'm working with right now.
Don't we know it?
I don't-
But gentlemen, thank you very much. But we have to keep having these conversations and, you know, just to see how we can help our country because at the end of the day, it's one Jamaica, one people, one legacy. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. And I'm looking forward to do this again and even talk about more things and stuff. And Kemal, all the best on your studies. You're now a part of the family.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And Scotty, thank
Yeah,
you
man,
very much
no
for
problem.
being
Anytime. Yeah,
for
man.
being here. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Okay, people. So there we have it. Another night of track and field business, and of course, two knowledgeable track and field enthusiasts and Jamaicans, and St. Andrew Technical High School. I did not plan it. It was actually after we agreed to do the show, then I realized that they're actually from the same school. So big up St. Andrew Technical. And also I want to say thank you to all the athletes who roll out tonight. We had Dorothy Scott, we had Daniel England, we had Vivian Spence, we had Regina Montague, we had Ruth Williams Simpson, we had who else we had? We had somebody, we had Bonnie M, we had Etlyn Tate. Thank you all for rolling out tonight. Everyone, and also Leroy Dias who was here, Tamika who was here, Monica Lewis, who was here. And as I said earlier, Team Jamaica Bickle is having their fundraising event coming up April 13th. So let us go out and support them. Because let me tell you, when you go to the Penn Relay, Team Jamaica Bickle feed you, they fet you, they look after you. And Erwin Clare and his team have been doing this for over 30 years. Of course, looking out for Jamaica. So there are Jamaicans everywhere. We are everywhere giving back, and we're everywhere supporting you guys. So thank you all for joining me. Next week we will be back in the same chair, and of course I'll be speaking to a coach from one of the top high school who will be trying to regain their dominance in track and field. So until next week, you all take care. Thank you very much, Vivian. Vivian is saying another great show. Thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you. I want to thank, I want to thank the Jamaican. There's a group from Jamaica, Jamaica Olympian Association, a group of female Olympians that I want to thank very much for supporting their big support to this program. And also, of course, Miss Vilma Charlton is a part of it. Lily Hodges is another one who is a part of it. Dorothy, Regina, everybody, Etlin Tate, the whole work. Thank you guys very, 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 very much. And remember, guys, guess what is coming up very soon? Very soon, in another few weeks, I will be revealing the top schools with the most Olympians. So 1 week, coming up in March, 1 week I'll be doing the boys. I'll be doing the boys first, the top boys schools with the most Olympians. And then at the following week, I'll be doing the girls and also reveal the top 10 schools with the most Olympians. Guys, you don't want to miss this because this will be mouth-watering. And I can tell you that some of the results are very, very close. Some people might call for a recount afterwards, but that will be coming in March. So guys, stay tuned. Thank you very much, Bonnie M. Ivan Saunders, who is also a big, big part of the research that will be coming up in another few weeks. So guys, have a great weekend. Have a great, great weekend. And I will see you next week, same time. Have a good night.
Jamaica's track and field legacy is unmatched. It is a story of triumph, resilience, and extraordinary talent. But do you know the stories behind the athletes who brought us glory? Hi, I'm HP, founder of HP Chat Track. My mission is simple, to celebrate the rich legacy of Jamaica track and field and shine a light on the incredible people who make it happen. Winning that race was a dream come true, but the journey wasn't easy. It's not just about medals, it's about inspiring the next generation. Jamaica track and field isn't just a sport, it's our pride, our culture, our heart. Every week I sit down with athletes, coaches and fans to bring you stories of dedication, passion and legacy. Plus, we've got exciting news and exclusive insights into the world of track and field. Make your Thursday night be at HP's place. Come hang out with us at HP Chat Track Studio, where track and field is our business. Jamaica. One people, one